A new milestone for the Coast Guard today. $362 million worth of cocaine was unloaded at Port Everglades this morning. CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner was there for the show and tell.
Let's step out of the way for you right away so that you can see the ship at the center of this historical mission. We are told that this is the largest cocaine seizure by a single cutter during a single mission, again, in Coast Guard history. What you are looking at is nearly 50,000 pounds of cocaine, worth over $360 million.
What you see behind me is more than just a pile.
Okay. What's up, everybody? So, it looks like the Coast Guard just announced the largest cocaine seizure in history. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. $360 million worth of cocaine. Like, man, like those bills are bigger than like travel cases. And just imagine that, those bills actually made it to the United States, and they were going to go all over the country. So it looks like, President Trump's administration is, you know, cracking down on the drugs that's coming in. I'm sure, they're not able to get all the drugs that are smuggled into the country, but they're starting to make some really big plays, from blowing up speedboats and stuff like that to, this bit seizure. Um, and these guys, the Coast Guards, they wear this like a badge of honor when they're able to make seizures of this big. It could come with many things like bonuses and promotions and things like that, and just the thought of they're able to get these type of drugs off the street. Man, 360 million. That's a significant number. But I'm gonna let it go ahead and play and see what else they have for us.
Of cocaine. It represents a tangible victory in our ongoing fight against transnational criminal organizations.
This offload is the result of 15 different interdictions in the eastern Pacific Ocean.
Our message to the cartels is clear. We own the sea, not you. We will find you, we will hunt you down, and stop you if you wish to do this nation harm before you reach our shores.
Officials with the Coast Guard said more than 20,000 Americans die from cocaine-related overdoses a year.
20,000 Americans die from cocaine use a year. That's a lot of deaths. And, I'm happy that they were able to, make this seizure. It's going to be a lot of people who was expecting that package to land that's just going to be super mad, super disappointed. I've never been into this type of thing, because you definitely have to have a certain type of money to be into this type of thing, or else you're gonna be out on the streets. But man, like the mere size is what has me amazed, and just the audacity to think, okay, we're gonna get this in, and that just lets me know that shipments like this come over here all the time, frequently. Um, because it's supply and demand. There's a demand over here for it, so they're gonna make sure they supply it. But this is definitely a big message, because once you lose this type of product, it's it's a lot of people who worked to put this together, put this package together, and they were depending on it getting over here to the United States for them to make millions and millions of dollars, and then that money trickles down to everyone within their organization, and the people that work for them. So it's going to be a lot of people who are angry that this cocaine wasn't able to make it out and get distributed like it should. um but with 20,000 people dying every year from cocaine overdoses, it's good that we're making turns and making leaps as far as getting this stuff about our country. Um, because it's very deadly, and there's a lot of people who lose everything when they get on this stuff. They definitely don't, think correctly, and it's just disturbing the whole pipeline. Really, they know that the United States is one of their biggest customers, probably their biggest customer. So, they're gonna take all type of risks. People lose their lives, lose their freedoms to try to get this stuff over here because the returns are so great. Let's see what else they have to say as far as this seizure is concerned.
Moving this much cocaine from the global supply chain does more than interrupt a shipment. It weakens entire organizations. It protects communities throughout the United States.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard thanked President Trump.
The success that we are seeing here today is what happens when we have a commander-in-chief who empowers leaders, Coast Guard men and women, our service members across the force, our intelligence analysts and professionals to do the job that they signed up to do.
The captain of the ship at the center of the mission, Captain O'Connell, explains what happens to the presumed smugglers.
We follow Coast Guard training tactics and procedures. We used our armed helicopter to stop the vessels. We take the smugglers or presumed smugglers on board our ship as detainees, and then we confiscate the contraband. And then they are turned over either to, they've been turned over to Ecuador or their country of origin for prosecution.
This offload coming as the U.S. military has conducted 21 military strikes on alleged drug trafficking boats in the Eastern Pacific Ocean and Caribbean Sea. And during today's press conference, I asked where the drugs were coming from, what countries. They told me the majority of the cocaine is coming out of Colombia and Ecuador. In Fort Lauderdale, more.
So there you have it. Man, I didn't know it was they done 21 operations to blow up those speedboats who, they try to get the cocaine in to port cities, very quickly. Um, but as they were saying, the drugs are coming out of Colombia and Ecuador, and those are all places where they have the climate to be able to, grow, those poppies, and they'll have the people who, they're really, more than likely slave labor in order to produce the cocaine and to get it packaged up and loaded onto a ship so it can be headed over here to the United States. And as they were saying, this type of bust weakens organizations because, man, that's 360 million. It's people who will never see $360 million a day in their life. That's NBA basketball player, top tier superstar contracts and stuff like that. So, the top tier guys in the international soccer or football, as they say, like this, this is crazy. Um, but kudos to everyone who was involved in this seizure, and hopefully it continues, and hopefully we start seeing a change here in America. There's a lot of people who lose loved ones to these drugs, and like they said, it's about time we had a commander in chief who was steadfast on trying to change the narrative with these type of things, and it's gonna go underappreciated, like many things that President Trump has done. It's gonna go unappreciated, but hey, it's a tough job. And if you don't have people that hate you, then you're not doing something right. So, a lot of people are gonna be mad about this. A lot of people might lose their lives about this. Um, but you know, w- that could be 20,000 lives saved alone this year and in the coming years with this seizure. And now they'll have to figure out other ways that they're going to bring it over here to get it over here, which they do it by sea because the ocean is vast, very vast. But as one of the commanders there at the Coast Guard was saying, they own the seas. They have ships out there, and they're armed and you're ready to combat this threat. And President Trump has given them the power and the authority to do what they need to do to stop the drugs from reaching our shores. So we'll see where this goes, and how this continues, because this is still the first year of Trump's presidency, and so we still have three more years of his administration. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. If you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And again, this is Justin Paul. Peace.